there's another table way earlier in the narrative in 2 Samuel chapter 9. A dude named Mephibosheth. That's my favorite name. Mephibosheth. Now, Mephibosheth, if you don't know the story or you don't know the backstory, it's real fast. Jonathan and King David were best friends, right? Jonathan technically was in line for the throne because his idiot dad Saul was on the throne, right? So Jonathan, Prince Jonathan, should have been successor, but Jonathan knew David was the guy. And he relented real early to be under support for David, knowing he was the king. And there is this amazing exchanges between Jonathan and David that are just wild, like Jonathan giving him his armor to mark him as king and stuff like that. It's crazy. So they made a pledge together, hey, protect the families. Because when there's a regime change, always, law was, tradition was, every other way was that you kill everybody in the former regime so that there's no anarchy. When there's a change of regime, as in different families, David taking the throne would take Saul's family out. Tradition, law, and everything else would mean that all of Saul's line dies. If Jonathan got to the throne for some reason before David, and it would be vice versa. They made this pact together, protect the families. And they did. They made a vow. Now, when Saul died and Jonathan died on Mount Gilboa in that brutal battle, word came back to the palace. The king and the prince are dead, both successors at once. The nurse, knowing what was coming, the slaughter of the entire family, right, freaks out. The good nurse picks up Jonathan's 5-year-old son and bolts out the door with him. They have some sort of tumbling accident of some sort that made Mephibosheth lame in his legs. He either broke his legs, they didn't set right, something happened to the kid in their flee of terror from the king. Okay? Now, fast forward a while. When David takes the whole kingdom, David took the kingdom in chunks, kind of like it was Judah first and then a territory, and then he finally got it. Kind of took a while. When that happened, David is on his throne and he's thinking, is there anybody in Jonathan's family, in Saul's family, that I can bless? I made a pact with my best friend. I'm finally settled enough to fulfill it. Is there anybody? And his advisor says, yeah, he's got one crippled son way over in Lodabar. Lodabar is like Dundee from LA. It is like the sticks. Not only in like the thing, but it was way out there. It was a long ways for traveling in their day. It was like Jonah going to Tarshish. You know what I'm saying? It was like the wrong way. Okay, so he's in Lodabar and he's hiding because he's scared. Because he thinks he knows something about the king. He thinks the king's going to kill him. He thinks that if he comes into Jerusalem, he's going to die. He has a perception of the king that's not right. That's why he's hiding. Well, David says, go get him. So they take the king's chariots and they go grab Mephibosheth. Now imagine what Mephibosheth was thinking when the chariot from the kingdom rides up. I'm dead. How'd they even find me? What kind of spies are there? Okay, they found him. They brought him back to the throne, to Jerusalem. Mephibosheth is taken into the presence of the king. And immediately he falls prostrate on the ground. Freaked out. Freaked out. Did you guys read it? Just loses it. And says, I'm a dog. I'm a dead dog. I'm nothing. He's at the mercy of the court. And what does David do? Yeah, he comes right up to him, lifts him off the floor, and says, "You belong here. You have a seat at my table. You've had a seat at my table the whole time. You come and eat equal with me." And the best thing about it is that when Mephibosheth sat at the table, all his crippledness was under the table. He sat equal with the king. But his perceptions of the king is what kept him away from the table. You know what I'm saying? This whole time, he could have ate in intimacy with the king as an equal, as heir. He even got all his land back. He got everything. He is rich. He was living like a pauper in fear of the king when all along he had to his inheritance the kingdom. Sound familiar? The whole time he had it. The table does that. We may not feel like we're worthy to come to the table, like we should come to the table. Maybe we don't come to the table because we don't trust the king. We don't trust his heart. We don't trust that he is good. We won't trust to give our shame and our sins to him because we think he's just going to level us out. It's not what Mephibosheth found out. It is such a perfect picture of the table. Coming to the table. Now, the banquet table of the Lord can be an intimidating place. It can. In all its splendor and all its majesty, because the king dines there, the King of Kings. But as priests, we are called to join him. Not only are we called to join him, but his table sustains us, just like the priesthood. The table of showbread, his consecrated bread basket, is our sustenance. The table. So, like the two men on the road to Emmaus, we may not have all the answers, we might not have the wisdom, but we have hearts that want to seek. They did. Like Mephibosheth, we may feel crippled, we may feel scared, totally unworthy, but we come to the table and find we are co-heirs of the kingdom with Christ. We are invited to approach the table, even with our limitations and flaws. And it's there that our eyes are open to see who he is. Because when we hold the bread and we hold the blood and we know the lengths that he went through to save us, it changes everything. It changes everything. The bread. We eat at the table equal to a child of the king.
Hear the voice of love that's calling. There's a chair that waits for you, and a friend who understands everything you're going through. But you keep standing at a distance, in the shadow of your shame. There's a light of hope that's shining. Won't you come and take your place and bring it all to the table? It's nothing he ain't seen before. all your sin, all your sorrow and your sadness. There's a Savior and He calls. Bring it all to the table. He can't see the weight you carry and the fears that hold your heart. But through the cross you've been forgiven. You're accepted as you are. So bring it all to the table. It's nothing He ain't seen before. For all your trials, all your worries and your burdens, there's a Savior and He calls. Bring it all to the table. Bring it all. You can bring it all. Come on in, take your place. There's no one who's turned away. All you sinners and all you saints, come right in and find your grace. Come on in, take your place. There's no one who's turned away. All you sinners and all you saints, come right in and find your grace. And bring it all to the table. It's nothing He ain't seen before. For all your sin, all your sorrow and your sadness, there's a Savior and He calls. Bring it all to the table.